Would you like to get your opponents out of their comfort zone on move 1? If so, then the move of G3, my bit of a bullet specialty, might appeal to you. The idea of G3, the Baccia opening, is that basically you can play it almost like a reverse modern, where if they were to take the center, like say if they play knight c6, you can even play like a3 and basically play a Tiger's modern with colors reversed. So it's a pretty easy system for modern players to kind of play with, with an extra tempo. If they do stop a5, you can then go like even knight f3 or knight c3 and, sort of make the point that you get this like knight b5 square that you wouldn't normally get if they didn't play a5. So little move order tricks like this you can use to try to outplay your opponent. Now, it is true that knight f6 is a better move for black, probably, where you just sort of keep the position a bit more flexible. But this is definitely still something that white can play. Like, the move c4 is a very legitimate approach where, if they play d4, you kind of go e3 and head towards this kind of reverse Benoni type of positions. Or let's say if they play c6, you have this clear plan of going for knight c3 and putting some pressure on the d5 square. Of course, black is going to be fine here, but you get a creative position without too much theory involved as such. In fact, you could probably argue that the move c4 could also be played a move earlier, but it's probably not going to make such a big difference. If you are enjoying the video so far, do make sure to leave a like and also to consider subscribing. Now, let's say if you don't want to let black get in this kind of center with like the pawn getting to e5 or, e5 and then d5 in this sort of way. Well, there are ways in which you can avoid this, where you can play the move knight f3 here and transpose back into the King's Indian attack, but where black's already committed to d5, so it means they don't have options like the Queen's Indian or the King's Indian so available anymore, which can be quite nice. Or if they play e5, you can then play c4 and transpose back into a trendy lander English opening, where, white has some pretty easy play, like, if you have experience playing the dragon with from black's point of view, you're probably quite happy to play with an extra tempo. One of the more modern ideas these days is actually to go castles. You try to play d4 and just sort of take over control of the center. Like bishop e7, d4 is actually quite a nice structure. For example, if you get the central majority versus the queenside majority, you're just going to be very happy in a position like this, whether you keep the queens on or whether you do swap the queens. So they normally play knight b6 to avoid it, but then you have like b3 and you can, even like prepare the d4 break and just get those pawns in the center. You have a lot of decent options from here, which are probably a better topic for another video, but at least this will get you started. But what if they decide not to take the center? What if they, go for a fianchetto style approach, for instance? Something I actually face quite a lot in my online games is something like knight f6 and g6 here. And now I'd like to share a fun setup that is maybe objectively not the best one, but it served me quite well in online bullet. Where I actually often like to play this subtle system with bishop d2, and here they can play d5 or d6, but the idea is kind of the same. You just go like bishop h6 and h4, and you just go for the attack on the king. Now, is this objectively a good system? No, black is better if he plays it well. But it's something I've had very, very good results with online. I think it will be a bit unpleasant for your opponents as well to deal with. Like, if they go d4, you go knight e4, and you kind of just trade off their knight in order to prepare the h5 advance in that way. Now, if you do want something a little bit more sound, you can also just play, like, e4 and just play this kind of modified fianchetto Pirtz, where you haven't played the move knight c3 yet. So you get a little bit of extra flexibility. Like, for example, you can, play a move like h3 or c3 and just get a bit more of a creative position and just transposing into a fianchetto Pirtz. But something you'll probably notice here is that this is basically a very transpositional opening with g3. It definitely helps a lot if you have experienced openings like the King's Indian attack and the modern and a couple of other ones. And also the English kind of is nice to be able to transpose sometimes. Like, for example, if you play like knight f6 and, let's just say you go d3, like just trying to, be able to sort of go for a quick e4 against the London and kind of move on them a little bit in that way. But let's say they play something like e6 instead. Well, then, you're going to play knight f3 and you're going to basically be back in a King's Indian attack where, knight d2, e4 is kind of normal. But recently I've been playing this Artemiev move of bishop f4 and just kind of playing to sort of keep the tension, like going for knight e5 and sort of trading off the knights. And just having this sort of very fresh position with not much theory, but very interesting one to play out. And there are lots of other ideas, like obviously, we haven't got to moves like c5 and this sort of approach. But again, you can explore different things like, for example, the last idea of going knight c3 and accelerating b4. Objectively, it's probably not the best move, but again, can be a way just to get a fun position to play with not much theory and with good scope to outplay the opponent. In any case, let me know, what was your favorite part of this training? Is there a particular idea or move within the g3 lines that made an impression on you? Let me know down below, and also let me know if there is a particular opening that you would like me to cover in a future video in this starting out series for these 5-minute opening videos. I wish you guys good luck with playing g3 in your own games, and yeah, I'll see you in the next training. Take care.